Shabbat. Are you ready for Shabbat? Depending on what day of the week it is, and depending if you've done your preparations, you can feel stressed or you can feel blessed. So Shabbat can be a very busy time, depending on if you're invited, if you're going away, if you're inviting people, or you're just at home with your family. What we want from Shabbat is for it to be a happy and smooth experience. However, there's so much involved in Shabbat that we need to take into account. So Shabbat is lots of cooking, lots of shopping, lots of cleaning, lots of preparing, whether you're cleaning also and preparing vegetables and greens and baking, whether you're baking bread or sweets, it's a lot. And even if you decide to buy all of it, it's still a lot to make sure that you're ready for Shabbat, because there's still stuff that needs to get done right before Shabbat. So it could feel stressing, it could feel challenging, it could feel burdening. We don't want it to feel that way. When Shabbat is finished, Saturday night, we're already looking forward to the next Shabbat. On Sunday, we're probably thinking, what else am I going to cook this week? What different cuisine can we have? Or what else can we do on Shabbat that feels so elevating? I have a friend who shared with me, and during this quarantine time, she said to me, on Shabbat, I just feel so different. Even though we're home anyway, it's a different elevating experience. And it should be a day that we look forward to, that we want to have, that we can't wait for the next Shabbat. So here I am. I want to share with you 8 practical tips on how to have a smoother, happier family Shabbat experience. These are tips I've learned from others, from books that I've read, and also trial and error, things that I've tried in my family, and I'm here to tell you things that actually worked. Okay, so number 1, Shabbat prep. Shabbat preparation needs to happen all by Thursday. And yes, I do mean cooking also, meaning maybe you're not cooking it, but preparing it. So whether you're stuffing in grape leaves or making a salad, cut up the vegetables, clean the greens. Maybe you're not putting in the dressing on Thursday. You'll put it on right before you serve. But it should all be prepared on Thursday. And if you decide to cook it or bake it, you can always freeze it. Yes, we want a grand 25 salads, 5 entrees, beautiful white tablecloth, super perfectly clean home, and just everything done on time, and we're all dressed nice and crisp and beautiful and handsome. However, it doesn't really happen in the real world every single week to everyone. So what we want to do, we want to reduce the stress that we don't have to deal with. So if you're going to prepare everything by Thursday, you're pretending Friday doesn't exist. Meaning like that week, I'm not doing anything on Friday. I'm doing everything on Thursday. So you're baking the bread, you're baking your sweets, you're doing the shopping, you're cleaning, you're washing your greens, you're doing everything. The laundry, everything done. The ironing, everything done for Shabbat. This way on Friday, there's always something to do on Friday. You'll find something else to do probably. There's always more prep. However, take care of the big things. And this way, Friday coming, you'll be relaxed. Even if Shabbat comes in 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 4 o'clock, we're doing things to the last minute, most of us. So we want to do as much as we can on Thursday. Number 2, something is called TCH. Sometimes we don't know how to make our Shabbat table more elevating. Maybe we're just tired, we don't want to talk so much. But we want to make sure it's elevating. We want to bring up the lively conversations. So how do we do that? Sometimes people don't want to make a toast or aren't good at it or don't know what to say. So we do something called TCH, especially when my kids were little. This was especially exciting. So T is for thank. Thanking your family for something that they did. So everybody goes around the table. So one person starts with their T. They're thanking someone, or they're thanking everybody in the family, depending on how old your child is. They want to say something thankful. to someone. So they say it out loud. Thank you, mommy, for buying me my special treat right after we went to the park. It really meant a lot to me. I really enjoyed it. That's really nice. And let them say it however they want it. The next one is C. How did you change this week? And in this way, the children will actually look forward to sharing how did they change, because this is what they're looking out for all week. How did you change? We're meant to be bigger people. One of the reasons why when we do Havdalah, the blessing after Shabbat on the candles, is we look at our fingertips and the fire, meaning that we're always supposed to be growing people. I'm supposed to be better next week than I was last week. So how are we changing? You want to ask your child, how did you change? And H is, how did you overcome something that was hard for you? Meaning the change, the C doesn't have to be hard, but something, how did you overcome something that was hard for you? That's growth right there. It's just beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. And it's something to celebrate. It's something to acknowledge. And we need to start as adults, the mother and the father, to say it to our children. Because when the mother praises her husband, when we praise our husbands, thank you, honey, for taking out the trash when I leave it outside the door. Some other examples is, thank you so much for coming home with a beautiful smile, even though I know you're tired. Or sorting out the smelly garbage and recycling every week for pickup. Thank you so much. You're such a big help. And you want to thank for the little things, because it's the little things that really make a difference. It's not the big, grand, once a year vacations that we need to thank each other for. It's really the little things that add up, and that actually we acknowledge, listen, our home needs to function. We all need to be part of it. And it's a lot of little things that make a family flourish and become successful together and run the home successfully. And this will teach our kids not to take each other for granted. So T is to thank, C is how did you change, and H is how did you overcome something that was hard for you. So number three. Number three is kids being at the table. Don't require your kids to always sit at the table throughout the whole meal. Yes, you worked really hard. Yes, you want them to eat. However, it's really hard for kids to sit the whole time. So when the kids are especially little, when they're, below 10 years old, below 11, have them eat, have the blessing for the bread that we make, the blessing for the wine that we make, get their blessings. We bless the children on Shabbat. After they eat fish, have them go play, have them come back for the next entree, have them come back for dessert. And this way they actually enjoy Shabbat. Kids can't sit for long, and we don't need to compare ourselves when we were little. Sorry. We don't need to compare ourselves, because times are different now. Especially now, children have especially less attention spans. Okay, so what we want to do is engage them. So the bigger kids, whether they're 10, 11 years old, 12 years old and on, you want to have them sit more or less throughout the whole meal. You want to have them prepare something. So 2 books that I can share with you is Rabbi Yechiel Spiro's book, Spark of a Story. So that he has versions of these for children, and they're really engaging. Actually, one of my children really enjoys reading them, even though this is for adults, but really enjoys it and shares it at the table sometimes. So another one is Welcome to Our Table by Ari Wasserman. So these are really kid-friendly books that I can share with you that they will enjoy reading and giving over information. And there's some stories there. And this way they're part of the table. So when school's out, when it's hard to sit down with them and teach them Torah, these are books that you can have them prepare for at the Shabbat table, the older kids. Okay. Number 4, mystery object. So when everybody's done eating, either everybody wants to go to sleep, everybody wants to rest, everybody wants to just chill out, people want dessert, and nobody wants to clean the table, right? Including us adults, we just want to relax. So what we want to do is create a fun mystery object experience, which I learned from Rabbi Yochanan. So he said, have your kids clean up the table, the whole table. So in our house, we also have them sweep the floor. So you say, clean up the table. I have one object in my head. So you eye one object, but they don't see you. So the person who cleans up that object wins a point. If the child is small, have them get like a jelly bean, whatever works for them, like a small treat right away if they win, because they can't wait till Shabbat is over, till next week. The older kids, you can promise them a point, $1, whatever that it is. But you wanna you wanna make this a fun game, and it's little kids too. It doesn't matter how much you clean the table. The more you clean the table, the more likely it'll be that you'll get the point and you'll get that prize. So it's a win-win situation. The kids actually clean up the table faster. There's no whining. There's less whining, even though you may still have those days. There's a lot less, and it's more motivating and engaging. Okay. Number 5, debates. So when you have older kids especially, and you don't know what to do, and you can't have play dates, and whether it's raining or you're not having play dates, you want to engage the kids. So one way that we engage the kids is by having debates. So you have a question, and it's adults versus the kids, and there's one judge. So maybe your husband wants to debate with your son or your daughter, and then so you pose a question, and then they switch. So let's say there's a debate you can do. Are Zoom classes better than actually going to school? So the kids will choose one side, the adults will choose another, and then they have to switch the sides, and then they have to convince the judge on which side is better. So it's really awesome. They really enjoyed it, since older kids love to argue and prove their point, most of them. So you want to make it constructive and fun, and it could go on for hours. You could choose like different questions, and it's really, really engaging. So number 6 is give everyone what they need. So if someone needs play dates, someone needs to sleep, give delicacies. It's not a time to diet or watch how much the kids eat. Of course, we don't want to go super overboard, but we want to have them enjoy Shabbat. Less restrictions, a lot more laid back. Don't worry about the house being always put together. You want the kids to enjoy Shabbat and not feel stressed at home because mommy wants everything a certain way on Shabbat. So yes, we want cleanliness, but we don't want to be perfectionists. We don't want to do that. Okay. So number 7, pretend Shabbat came in 2 hours earlier. So this is something really, 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 really helpful. So let's say Shabbat comes in at 5 o'clock p.m. You're going to pretend that Shabbat comes in at 3. Why? You may actually find yourself doing things to the last minute till 5. That's fine. But from 3 to 5, you're not relying on anybody for help. So if you ask your kids to do something, or your husband, and they don't do it, just do it yourself. Why? This is the reason why. Because it's more likely that a person can get frustrated once they have less time, there's time constraints. It's more likely we get frustrated and we demand and we expect and we want things done, and it's totally normal. But if we decide to not rely, or rely on them a lot less during those times, the last 2 hours, will be calmer, happier, smoother Shabbat experience. If you ask your kids to take out the trash and they didn't, just do it yourself. Your husband didn't bring something down to the basement, just do it yourself. Because it's not because they don't want to be helpful. It's because this time is such a holy time that the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, wants to get us. This is the time when we probably, even though we may eat dinner every single day, especially when quarantined, it's so different on Shabbat. It's a different family experience. The food is different. The atmosphere is different. The kedusha, the holiness, the bracha is different. So that's why Yetzer Hara wants to ruin it for us, though. Yetzer Hara wants us to be upset at each other, and for no reason. We can get into fights with our families for no reason. So little trivialities, and most of anger in the home in general is about little inconsequential things. So if we can remove some of that anger, some of that hostility, some of that difficulty in preparing for Shabbat, let's just rely on ourselves and rely on our families even less, and do as much as we can, as we said on Thursday. Okay. I just wanted to add a point here. The reason why we also want to rely on ourselves is we need to also expect less perfection. So if I'm doing the last 2 hours myself, or if I'm asking, I should expect less from my children, from my husband. Okay, so they don't do it, I'll do it. Or if I don't do it, it's not meant to be done. So what happens is we expect less perfection. We need to expect less perfection. Yes, we want the linen tablecloth and the spotless floors and everything super clean and everything in the right place and the kitchen sparkly. We want that, but that's not what Shabbat's all about. We need to understand that Shabbat is not about cleanliness, 25 salads on the table, 5 difficult cuisines and gourmet food, and everybody dressed in their pristine clothing, which is not even dirty, and which we're just like scared, like don't pour the grape juice over your dress. It's not what Shabbat is about. It's not. What is Shabbat truly about? Shabbat is about me acknowledging that there's only God in the world, that everything I have is from God. Everything I have is a gift from God, my family, my circumstances. Everything is good for me. I have no control over anything, and everything that I have has nothing to do with me. Everything is a gift, and I'm not planning. I'm not trying to get things done. I'm going to appreciate what I have as is, the way I have it. This is a time to deepen our connection and relationship with Hashem. So the last 2 hours, we're leaving it alone because this is what I'm going to deal with. That's it. This is it. I'm not going to add more stress into my life because that's not what Shabbat is all about. Shabbat is about deepening my relationship and connection with my Creator and appreciating what I have. My last tip, number 8, is make it inviting. We need to make Shabbat fun and inviting. We need to be excited. Not, oh, Shabbat's coming in. No. Shabbat's Queen is coming. Blast the music. Have fun. Give them a treat. Do as much as you can on Thursday. It's a big thing, really. Like Thursday. Do everything Thursday. I'm very passionate about that. So the way we enjoy Shabbat is the impression that we make on our children about Shabbat. What do we hope for? Do we drag to make our prayers and blessings? Okay, come on, I want to eat. Come on, I want to say His blessing. Or do we really enjoy making that blessing? Because that blessing is my connection with Hashem. It's not about the food, because I'm going to get hungry in 2 hours anyway. So it's not about the food. It should not be about the food. It should be about, my connection to Hashem, which just gives me a little thought that I just had. If you can, feed your children before you have the meal. Feed them, especially the little ones. They don't need to come super hungry. Don't worry. They're going to enjoy your food and actually have a calmer experience at the Shabbat table. We want to have Parsha that's exciting. Have a short story. It doesn't have to be long. You don't have to be a speaker for this. Just something that's interesting to you. Bring it up. Bring it in an exciting way. And it's a good idea to bring the Parsha up as a question. Take a question from the Parsha. And make it really just engaging. Make it 5-10 minutes. Children can't sit for so long. 5-10 minutes. Make it exciting. And don't force them to make a Divrei Torah. Sometimes we as parents, okay, you need to say the Parsha. Why do I send you to yeshiva? No. If you make it exciting, they may want to share something. So we need to be an example. We need to be an example to our children, and they're going to actually make it exciting. Actually, a friend of mine shared with me that she has a father who's a rabbi, and she said, I remember this pivotal moment. She said, I was home doing my thing, and in rushes in my father. My mother was in the living room. He was so excited. My mother's like, what happened? He goes, I gotta tell you something. What happened? What happened was, he goes, I gotta share with you this Divrei Torah that I learned. I just can't. It's so exciting. You won't believe it. And he shared it. So his daughter, who's now, middle-aged, she remembers what her father said. And this added excitement in Torah in her. She's excited to learn Torah. And it doesn't matter how religious the person gets. But the excitement, she goes, like, my father transmitted in me excitement for Torah. And that's what we want to transmit to our kids. excitement for Shabbat. Happy, smooth experiences, not stressful. Shabbat is not about having tons of guests. Let's not forget about our children on Shabbat. Let's engage them. Let's talk to them. They are part of they're part of the Shabbat experience. It's not just for adults. Kids are at the table. Make them your guests. All the children, your guests and your own kids. And we hope, our hope is that we will, as they will continue to honor Shabbat with their own families in the way that we transmit it to our families. Leah Abramov, Being and Becoming, awakening awareness of your greatness and potential.